This video isn't about the next red flag checklist or individual behavior that you need to look out for. This video is about understanding the intention behind behaviors and getting clarity on patterns so that you can determine if the person that you are in a relationship with as a whole is a walking red flag or not. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the confusing patterns that kept me stuck in a relationship for nearly a decade with somebody who as a whole was a walking red flag, even though their behaviors didn't always come off as red flag behavior. So by the end of this video, my hope is that you are going to be able to build some personal discernment so that you can feel good about creating clarity in your own relationship. So the first red flag pattern that I couldn't create clarity around was that I thought I was in a relationship with somebody who finally understood me. But it felt a little off. I started noticing that every single time I shared something with this person about what I like, what I dislike, my hopes, my dreams, who I want to be as a person now, who I hope to become in the future, just even what I wanted my life to look like, all of that information never came back into my life in a good way. And what most of us do when we want to show people that we were thinking about them or care about them, we take pieces of this information that they share with us to infuse it back into their life. And over time, I really started noticing that it wasn't that this information just didn't come back into my life. It's that whenever it did come back up into my life, it came back up in a very negative way. They were using that information so that they could use against me at a future date or time whenever they thought it was necessary for them. And essentially, this person was trying to mimic understanding and connection so that they could manipulate. And I truly believe that that is where the off feeling came from, because there was something in me that knew that this wasn't genuine. I just couldn't see it because it wasn't in a blatant behavior. And really the way that I was able to create understanding and clarity in this pattern was just to take a step back to look at what is the intention infusing the behavior? Because I had to ask myself, what kind of person is trying to get information from you to not give it back to you in a good way? And it really didn't matter how many times I ran that question. It never ended up as a green flag person. And so it took me seeing that pattern, unfortunately, a very long time to be able to come to a solid conclusion that, okay, this pattern is creating a red flag person, because anything coming from them is going to be infused with some type of malintention. So moving into the next red flag pattern that I noticed is that no matter how much I tried to understand this person, they made sure that I could not understand them. And this was by design. And I really noticed that this pattern popped up whenever I needed them. So this could be as simple as, hey, could you help me with something quick in the kitchen, to, needs or relationship maintenance. Again, it didn't matter how big or small, but whenever I needed them, they made sure that the reason why they could not give nor step up into the relationship is because of something that has happened to them that I cannot understand, no matter how much I would try, so they can just continue to do whatever it is that they wanted to do. What made it even more confusing is that even as this person was sharing with me that they can't step up into the relationship and the reasons for that, I remember thinking, oh, it seems like there are some pretty simple solutions that this person could enact into their life so that they could be a healthy person in the relationship. What helped me finally get some clarity in this is understanding that if you are a good and healthy person, you are going to want to be in a relationship with somebody who can help figure out ideas, who can help create options, who can help create solutions, because maybe there's something that you're not seeing. But also, let's say you're that person who wants to figure it out on your own. That means you are doing something. You are taking action on your own. You are trying to figure it out because that's how you like to solve your problems. Because in either situation, whether the person is doing the work on their own or they're inviting you in, there is momentum of the relationship. There is momentum of their change. And really, for contrast, I would say my relationship just felt like it kept getting worse and worse over time with no resolve in sight. And that was enough for me to take a step back from the relationship and cut through what they were saying, which is, I'm constantly misunderstood, I don't have support, and so I can't step up into the relationship. And even though they're in a relationship with somebody who is trying to offer that and they're constantly putting that other person down, at the end of the day, that's a red flag person and not somebody you want to be in a relationship with. Now, this next pattern actually builds on what we were just talking about, because not only was I not allowed to understand them, but I was not allowed to see who they are at the reality level. And what I mean by that is that this person had patterns where they only wanted to be viewed in a certain way. And I remember for a very long time, and I think even until the end of the relationship, they wanted to be viewed as somebody who was really reliable. Now, just like in the previous red flag pattern, when there was ever a time that I needed something, not only could this person not step up, but in many cases, they had an even worse problem that needed prioritization. And many times, it was the same thing that I was going through, just worse somehow. And this was really confusing to me because it's not as though this person didn't have opportunities to share with me what they were going through or that they might need help with. The pattern really seemed to be strong, that it only appeared after I had come to them. And I was stuck in confusion for a very long time because I noticed that whenever a friend, a coworker, colleague, acquaintance, didn't matter, needed help in some way, they were there. They could have been their first phone call and they were there in minutes. And like I was saying, this just kept me stuck in confusion for so long because I could not figure out why somebody would be prioritizing other people that they are not in a relationship with. But when it comes to the person that they are in a relationship with, they can never give to them at the same level. But whenever this person would try to reinforce with me about how reliable of a person that they are, they would say, hey, remember when so-and-so called? I just love that I'm such a reliable person and that I could do that for them. But the thing you have to know is that if you are with somebody who's trying to project what they want you to see about them onto you, and let's just continue using reliable for a minute, if they are actually truly a reliable person, they will show up that way in every single area of their life. You are no exclusion. And in fact, you're probably the priority. When you are in a relationship with somebody who is a walking red flag, they really like to use manipulation to make sure that you think only the good about them and they use that on others. But then when you sit there and say, hey, I noticed that I don't get any of this, reliability, they then make sure that you know that there are so many reasons why they cannot give to you, but they are still this good person. It's somehow like they want to be a hero with others, but a victim with you. Those are really the two boxes that I find that red flag people like to fit into, either the hero or the victim, and sometimes it's both of those at the same time. But once I was able to wrap my head around the pattern of theirs, which was they only created reliability with other people, and they made sure they could not create that with me, that was enough for me to get to the point to say, you know what, I think I'm just actually with a red flag person. Moving into the next red flag pattern was that I noticed that whenever anything came into my life that made me happy, this made them unhappy. Now, I think the best way to illustrate this is with an example. And I remember during the course of our relationship, I had purchased a house and at one point refinanced it. And I remember after the refinance, I got an unexpected check. And I remember looking at this check thinking, oh my God, this is so exciting. We could, go on a trip. We could go on a long weekend. We could do something nice for ourselves. We could do something for the house. We could invest it. I was just trying to think of all these exciting things to do with this money that was unexpected. And I remember I went to them so excited and was just telling them everything that I was just sharing with you. And I started noticing the more that I was telling them about how excited I am and what I thought we could do with the money and what they thought we should do with the money, the less excited I got. Because I was noticing not only were they not mirroring any type of excitement back to me, they weren't even looking at me. They were just sitting there essentially like, and this was so confusing because I could not figure out for the life of me why this person was reacting this way. And I remember it even got to the point where I stopped and I asked them, hey, are you okay? Is there anything going on? And they said, it really just feels like you're trying to rub your check in my face. And again, very confused. Could not figure out during the course of me sharing my excitement with them, asking them what they think we should do with the money, sharing what I thought we should do with the money, to have them react in that way. And I remember feeling after that interaction so low to the point where it was almost like the equal and opposite reaction to how excited I was how low that I felt. It was just like they drained every ounce of happiness, excitement, joy out of me. It even got to the point where I almost just signed over the check to them because I was just like, I don't even want it anymore. In a way, the money felt tainted. And just like the other pattern examples, I was only able to create clarity here when I could take a step back and see that at a baseline, green flag people, if you come to them and you're excited, they're excited too. But if you are having a mismatch chronically with somebody with your energy, this is a very big red flag. And truly, this person is showing you how good your life can be with them. And it's not going to be good. It's going to be a very small life, because the only person that's allowed to thrive in relationships with red flag people are the red flag people. Now, this next red flag pattern, I want to say, is the most damaging. And I noticed that the longer I was with this person, the less of myself I became. Because I started noticing that whenever I had an idea to do something, whenever I got a pulling to explore something, whenever I wanted to try something new, which I like trying new things, they would talk me out of it. And really the pattern that emerged was not that they were talking me out of it, but they were trying to replace my decision making with their preferences, with what they thought I should be doing. And over time, I really internalized this and took it on. It even got to the point where one time I took a look in the mirror and I was just confused, because I'm like, who is this? We aren't doing what we love. We aren't doing what we like. But whenever I try to seek support, whenever I try to seek understanding, whenever I try to tell this person something exciting, I become worse in a way. It keeps you not even from being who you currently are. You really become a shell of yourself, because you're not able to infuse yourself with the things that you love anymore. Because when I was just taking a look at the behaviors, it was that they were just expressing their opinions and what they thought I should do. But it's what came after which was so damaging, which is no support, no prioritization, no just even encouragement to go be me. Because when I was finally able to take a step back and look at the relationship and say, okay, what is a healthy behavior? What is a green flag person doing in this situation? It's that they want you to become more of you. They support you in these ideas that you have. They support you in these ways that you want to experience life. And I mean, at this point, it's not just red flag behavior. I mean, we're looking at an abusive type of relationship dynamic. Now, if you notice over the course of this video that there are kind of patterns within patterns, you would be right, because red flag people as a whole do not want to step up nor give to relationships. I also believe red flag people want to create relationship environments that allows them to behave in whichever ways that they want. And that's why with this video, I didn't want to highlight behaviors. I wanted to highlight the intentions driving behaviors and what the patterns are, so that you can take a look at the person as a whole to determine if they are a red flag or not. Because at its most basic level, red flags create confusion and green flags create clarity. And if you are curious about what relationships look like that create clarity instead of confusion, I made a video about unhealthy versus healthy relationship dynamics and how to spot the difference, and you can watch that right here. I'll see you there.